FinTech Center 2024 webinar series. We want to express our deep appreciation to Kiara Collins, Senior Recruiter at Chime, who facilitated today's webinar so that we can have one of the Chime's leaders to participate in the session. Also, I want to thank Rekha for joining us and accepting our invitation to present at this webinar. The National FinTech Center is one of the research centers at Morgan State University. Its mission is to build capacity in blockchain and fintech, not only at Morgan, but also at more than 65 HBCUs nationwide. It's our long-standing tradition to share the recording of the session, all the webinars with all of the universities in our network so that they can use them in their classes. We want to thank the foundational sponsor, Ripple, and also Ripple Impact for supporting the National FinTech Center and the HBCU community since 2019. Please visit our website at fintech.morgan.edu for programs and events information. Thank you all for attending this webinar. So with that, I want to also start by thanking again Rekha Venkatakrishnan, who is a senior leader and seasoned leader for over 2 decades, with experience in and a solid background in product management and technology leadership. She leads product at Chime, where she and her team are responsible for building products that enable member trust through delightful and joyful member experiences. Prior to Chime, Rekha has held product leadership roles at Amazon, Taco Bell, Walmart, and Fortune 500 firms. Again, thank you, Rekha. To start off, can you tell our audience about Chime and what segment of the industry does it operate in, and what is the core business?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Ali. I appreciate having me here and participate amongst all the great minds. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Yes, absolutely, Dr. Ali. Great question. So for everyone who have not heard about China, I'm sure probably you have heard about China. I'm hoping some of you are our members as well. We are a financial technology company, and we believe that basic banking services should be helpful. It should be easy and free. So what we do is we work with national banks to offer these banking products. So our goal is to ensure that we are able to unlock the financial progress of everyday Americans. Imagine our segments are primarily like less than 100K annually. So people who are living paycheck to paycheck. So it's very important that we reduce the stress and the cost of living paycheck to paycheck, right? So they are our target customers. So as I mentioned, that when we partner with national banks to build these products, some of the products that you all can relate to, would love to kind of quickly talk through that. Credit Builder. Building credit history is very important for all of us in the United States of America, right? And if you think about it, I'm sure all of you have bank accounts. And when you really start building your credit, there is some cost to it. There is an annual fee to it, right? So how do you really build credit history right, and secure like a credit card without having to pay a fee, right? And so we continue to basically ensure that everyday Americans who are making less than 100K, services like these are available to them at like no cost, right? Because that reduces the stress on them. The other products that we also do as an example are taxes. All right. Tax seasons comes up. We all have to know we go to like turbo taxes and all of that to file taxes, right? So we now offer paying, for our members to come file taxes at no cost, right? So these are some products, to be very specific, that I'm sure all of you in your day-to-day financial progress, can relate it. But I hope that kind of gives you a flavor of Chime. And I would encourage all of you to go and check out like our website. And you can definitely educate more there because it talks about what are the different services we offer, what's our model, what's our business model here, and who are our target customers. You can actually read them in a lot greater detail.
Great, thank you. Chime has transformed before by adopting cloud technology. With generative AI, it's moving even more quickly. How is the adoption of generative AI accelerating Chime's transformation compared to previous technology shifts, like the move to cloud computing?
Absolutely. I would definitely like to start by probably deconstructing like what exactly is cloud computing and what exactly is generative AI and how are these two map. And then I will address the Chime because I think it's very important for everyone to understand like how these two are like correlated, because I know that in the industry we say, hey, cloud computing is a new shift. Now we are talking about generative AI. I'm sure in future we are going to talk about quantum computing or maybe spatial computing, right? So how are these all kind of like coming along and dependent on each other, right? So think of cloud computing as something where it's basically an infrastructure to store and manage large amount of data and perform complex computations, right? So that's how you think of cloud computing. Now, when you think of generative AI, they are actually enabling a lot of businesses to kind of in automation, in enhancing decision making, gain insights. But how are they really doing it? So they need access to these data sets, right? And that's where cloud computing comes in. So cloud computing is an essential input for generative AI, right? So that's how I would correlate like cloud computing to generative AI. Now we are already in that era, like we are all trying to practice, like evolve. Some companies are transforming, whereas some companies for this is like disruptive, right? It purely depends like where in the industry, what stage are you in? At Chime, very specifically, we are in a very good state. And the reason I say that is because we are in an exploration with ChatGPT. So we have ChatGPT licenses, enterprise licenses. So we have enabled a lot of players within the company to kind of explore with that, because as you play around it, it allows us to get closest to the problem, to the experiments, to the solutions we want to build, right? We have also talked to several vendors, right? Because it helps us understand, do we want to build or do we want to buy some of these technology solutions out there, right? So there is definitely that constant exploration phase, and there is definitely a lot of learning as we are working with a lot of vendor integrations. When we talk about like ChatGPT, I know now we have Claude, Anthropic. The other interesting part for Chime definitely is we already use our on infrastructure like AWS, right? Amazon Web Services. So how do we really capitalize on what we have, right? So that's another thing that we look at so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Because one thing I would like to add here is anytime when we think about FinTech, there is a lot of regulatory, there is a lot of compliance, there's a lot of responsible ethical AI that we all need to be going into. So that's very important because we have to make sure our members feel safe when they come to us. We want to make sure that they trust us. right? So driving the trust, driving the safety of how they transact with us, right? How they unlock their financial progress with us is very key for us. And for that, we obviously internally work with our compliance team, our legal teams, we work with regulatory bodies. So there is a lot that goes behind the scene, but then the outcomes have been great because we are like definitely in the exploration stages. There are areas where we are already seeing great outcomes. So it's a constant learning phase, I would say. And I would think like anybody, any other fintech, I'm sure everybody is in that learning stage, right? And some are probably already advancing in certain. So it depends on like where you are in the journey, like what stage you are. Do you already see this as a disruption versus not?
Very good. Now we know that Gen AI introduces new capabilities like language as a code, um, comprehensive knowledge, creativity, reasoning. What makes Gen AI uniquely transformative, and how are these new capabilities impacting the fintech industry?
A great question, Dr. Ali. I would like to kind of start with like, how generative AI is little distinctive than a traditional AI. Because a lot of times when we talk about AI, I think it has been interchangeably used. There is generative AI, there is traditional ML, you have NLPs, right? And you have like neural networks, right? So there's a lot that's happening in that broader ecosystem, right? So if you think about a traditional AI systems, a lot of them is pre-programmed, right? So you have like specific rules, there are algorithms that are available there, right? And the systems are obviously trained on large data sets when it comes to generative AI, right? So it is like constantly learning and identifying these patterns and the different variations from these data sets, right? So there is uniquely generative AI is like it's like self-learning compared to like a traditional AI where you are feeding and you're telling like how to. It's supervised learning most of the cases. Yes, there are places where it is unsupervised, but the success rates have been like really under no question depending on the use cases that you go in. So the way generative AI is uniquely transformable because it can handle large volume of data. It can identify patterns for you. It can actually create a lot of good content. I'm pretty sure all of you are experimenting that in your day-to-day personal life, hopefully. But that's how I think generative AI in itself is uniquely, different than a traditional AI out there. Now, when it really comes to capabilities, impacting the fintech industry, so in fintech, obviously, as I earlier mentioned, we do have a lot of processes, right? And these processes, like, if you think about it, as I said, when you come to us, you have an app, right? And in the app, as a customer, you are, securing an account, right? You are probably doing a transfer from your account to somebody's account. So these are like things you are doing, right? But anytime we are, bringing the products to the market, anytime we are offering services to our customers, we have to make sure that there are no biases into all of this, right? Especially when you are bringing in AI into this, you want to make sure that your innovation for customer is inclusive, right? It is fair. It is not biased, right? And it is able to actually automate a lot of those processes that we have. It could result faster services for the customer. It could solve for operational challenges. So that's how no way I would look at how these capabilities are impacting fintech industry, especially when you are in a very regulatory environment. How do you ensure that you remove those hallucinations, you are removing those biases from the system that you are building? How do you make sure it's inclusive and fair to anybody and everybody that you are catering to? Even when I think of customers, I always say this to anyone that for me, my customers definitely are our members, but there are also my customers who are internal to the company, right? Because imagine people who are working in compliance, people who are working in operations. Like we are building products for them as well. So as you're building it, you have to keep both the spectrums into consideration. Uh, that's kind of where Ali, my Dr. Ali, my thoughts are.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Now we know that Chime is focusing on four key themes for Gen AI integration, consumer products, operational efficiency, growth, and Chime productivity. Can you discuss how Gen AI is being applied within these areas and the impact?
Absolutely, absolutely, Dr. Rai. Great question. Let's start with members. Who are the members, right? As I said, these are everyday Americans who come to us and we are unlocking their progress, right? So how are we kind of impacting them positively through Gen AI, right? So imagine, you have a problem with your account, right? And you need help, right? So you come to us, right? And there are various ways you can reach out to us. One good example is chatbots, right? Like you can call us or you can ping us via our chatbots. So that's a good example of when we think about where we are applying generative AI, we are advancing how we respond back to our customers. Are we making sure that they have to take less steps to basically resolve their issues, right? Think about the effort that I'm sure, like when you call a customer support and if you're spending an hour on the call to resolve your issue, I'm sure all of us get frustrated. Time is running, right? Like we all have 10 things going at the same time. So we want to make sure that our member no get faster resolution, right? We are able to save their time. It's very much self-serviceable without having to go to a human, right? So things like that is where we think about, like when I say member products, consumer-based products, member-based products, that's where they come in. Operational efficiency, right? That's another big area for us, focus area for us. Now, when you think of operations, let's tap on the same example, right? Say you call in and, or let's say you reach out to us, the chat was not able to respond to you with your query or with your question. So we let you go talk to a human, right? So a human comes into the loop here. Now, when a human is coming in, they have to go through a number of processes and number of tools and products behind the scene to ensure they know who you are, they know what's your problem, they know why you are coming to us, they are able to find out the resolution for you and are able to close it. So there is a lot of steps that are happening behind the scene. So we have been working with our operations here at Chime. We have been kind of deconstructing and identify key areas where we could automate some of this. A good example is, imagine you call us and then when I go I'm an agent, you're calling me, and as an agent, like, no, I have everything summarized to me saying that, hey, this is the customer X calling me and this is the reason why, so that they don't have to do 10 steps to get to even like what's your problem, right? So that's an example of, if you were to imagine how we are tackling through some of the operational efficiency. Our goal is to make sure that our agents, right, are not spending a lot of time in resolving, because you have to balance member happiness. You have to make sure our members appreciate one on us. No, they trust us, they feel safe with us. But at the same time, you also want to make sure we are empowering our agents with the right set of tools, right set of data, less number of like hops for them to quickly resolve the member issues. So, right, so they complement each other in a lot of way. Now, if you think about it. The other areas when I think of like in FinTech at Chime around operations are disputes, right? Say one morning you get up and you notice that, oh, I never made this transaction or this transaction is wrong, right? We all file claims. That's another huge area, right? Where you have to investigate, you have to make sure there is an approval process, right? And there are a lot of players behind the scene who are doing this. And it is not as straightforward. So there are a lot of steps that we are doing, and there is a lot of effort going in leveraging generative AI to automate, to make these processes simpler, obviously in partnership with our regulatory compliance and all of that. The other area I would say the growth, that Dr. Ali was referring to. Now imagine like, we all want to make sure like, imagine you come to our app and you have everything that you need at one place. It's very personalized. So the offerings like personalization, right? Where like, no, hey, Chime understands me so well, right? Like I'm here and they have everything like very nicely presented to me because And that kinds of also drives a lot of loyalty, right? So that's just an example of how you think of it, right? Other areas I could say video generation, image generation, like when you see images and videos and all of that, they are good examples where generative AI can play a huge role in kind of driving the growth for us. Last but not the least, Chimer productivity. This is also one of my favorite. As I was alluding earlier, right? Like we do have our members, we do have our internal customers like operations, like risk players, and all of that. But then we also have our own employees, right? Like where we can drive productivity. So we a good example is like we have engineering, right? And engineers use like GitHubs. That's where they actually check in their code, right? So we are kind of like using GitHub pilots, right? Which runs on generative AI that could actually speed up how the check-in happens, the review happens, etc. Chat GPT Enterprise is something that I was mentioning in the earlier conversation, is another good example. Zoom, right? We are all here at Zoom. So we have also enabled Zoom AI because at the end of the call, like it could actually summarize the conversation and send it to you, right? Like we all take notes. So Zoom AI has been very helpful in kind of summarizing the conversation as well. So those are some good examples where we are already there or already working on it. But then, yeah, in future, we obviously want to make sure that you have your own autonomous assistant. That would be so cool, right? Like you as an individual employee, you have your assistant to take care of your day-to-day needs when you are at the workplace, right? So things like that really can drive productivity of chimers. So that's kind of how I would segment these four key themes when it comes to generative AI at Chime.
Mhm. Very good. Now, Gen AI continues to add new features, capabilities to existing AI and machine learning toolkits. In what way Gen AI is enhancing your current AI and machine learning tools?
Um, this is a very interesting question, and I'll tell you why. I think when I talk to a lot of my peers in the industry, a lot of them say that, no, hey, AI is disruptive, great. And some people say it's an transformation, right? Is it like really disruptive? Because it has been there for a while, right? And that's where the whole question of traditional AI, generative AI comes into play, right? And it's a good topic to kind of like discuss now when you meet people and people who are already working on it. Like I've heard like very, very different takes from people, like how they envision AI and how it could actually change the future of a lot of these different industries, fintech being one, but I'm sure there are a lot of other industries being there. Very specifically at Chime, no, we have been using AI ML for a while now. So it's not like, no, the concept of AI is broaderly new. There are obviously different use cases that we have in place, right? Like if you think about it, fraud and risk, like these are some of the areas where we have already been using AI ML to kind of like figure out like, if there is a fraudulent activity happening, like how high risk profile a member is, etc. Right? So those kind of things exist. Even concepts like chatbot, which were running on traditional AI ML models, right? But us obviously leveraging generative AI and going into the path of like member facing growth, operational efficiency, chimer productivity. I think we have definitely scaled on what we have. So I would say that yes, there are places where it's not really that you need the same ML that you used to be. And maybe you can replace them through new generative AI models that are coming in market and apply to different use cases like chats and voice, customer support, risk, fraud. Whereas there are certain places in the journey that we look into and we say, okay, we don't need to replace them, right? Like a good example is when you are filing, say, no, you want a claim, right? And say a claim is probably less than X dollars, right? And so because we don't want like to load our operation. So we continue to find those opportunities where we say, okay, does the current stack works well? Does the current model help us undo the job that it needs to and solve the customer problem, right? Whereas if we think that with AI, there is more potential and we could unlock greater good, then we're really going behind it. So it's not like one size that fits all. I would say AI ML will continue to be there, even for us at Chime. We are continuing to build on that. However, we are also looking into generative AI, and there are like certain areas where it's giving us greater good, right? So I would say it depends on the organization, the type of problem that you're solving, like, right? So it starts with that. I would always encourage everyone to think through, like, okay, what is the problem that I'm solving? And know what really makes sense here. Like, is AI the need? I think is a question that I ask every day. Like when I'm looking into my member data, I'm looking into like every day I come and see, okay, what are our members saying, right? Like, oh, they see this problem. Like, okay, do we think that something like AI could help here, right? So we have found opportunities, whereas we have also found that where traditional AI ML works just well, just right, you don't have to replace it as well. So it's a good mix of both.
Great. Let me stop and make a an announcement about questions from the audience. Please type in your questions in chat, and at the end of our conversation, Rekha is going to be addressing those questions. And the chat is the best vehicle for us to do that. So at this point, we want to also talk about Gen AI and uh, how Chime leads the industry in this area with executive support, empowering teams to develop safe and effective solutions. How does executive backing facilitate innovation in this area at Chime? And what measures are in place to ensure that those solutions benefit both members and the business safely?
Absolutely, absolutely, Dr. Ali. I would definitely like to say that at Chime, we are definitely at a very exciting stage and spot. Our executive, like our leaders, have given us that room to kind of go try out, experiment, and innovate. So yes, there is definitely investments that are actively being given to us where we can play around, experiment, and see like what is the potential that AI could bring to Chime, our members and our operators, our productivity, internal users, etc. I think how and where we start this is it all starts with like, what's the value and impact this is going to bring to your organization and to your members. So I work like we have a tiger team here at Chime, and I'm part of the tiger team, right? Like, so I work with like data scientists, I do work with engineers, now I do work with like operations, work with marketing. So there are like different functions who are part of this tiger team, and we are constantly talking in parallel where our businesses are running. Like, we come together, we jam on the problems, we talk about, okay, hey, how big of a problem is this? What is the opportunity for all of this, right? So it's always important for us to manage our up by ensuring that we show them that what this technology could bring in terms of the value and impact to the company and to our members. I think that's where a lot of like discussions we have, like, right? And that's where a lot of like investments come in for us. And what measures are in place to ensure, right? So as I was mentioning it a few times, we work with other banks, right? We work with national banks to build a lot of these products. Uh, Security, regulatory bodies, compliance, risk, fraud, financial crimes. There are so many different players within the company that we have to ensure that we are going through a proper vetting process, right? So we have our security team who is constantly working with us, right? They are making sure like, hey, there is no data leak happening. So when you are launching a product, right? So we just are not saying, let's go put something like to all the 7 million customers out there, right? Rather, we take an incremental approach, right? And we say, okay, let's find a cohort of users that we want to target for this experiment. And then we launch that experiment. And our security team tries to always ensure that, are they able to jailbreak, right? Are they able to find hallucinations, right? Is there any bias in how it's responding to the customer queries, etc., right? So there are definitely process and frameworks and guiding principles in place for us. And the Tiger team ensures that we are able to vet it through the right parties within the company before we put anything out in the market for our customers. So no, I think, and I'm pretty sure that's how in many companies, irrespective of industries, they have this in place. It's probably more the level of vetting is probably more higher in a financial regulated industry. But yes, I mean, no matter what, right? Even whether it doesn't matter whether you are coming for like depositing, or if you're going to buy a product, say you're on Amazon, you're buying a product, right? It matters because it's your money. Like, hey, every dime counts, right? So that's what we are all behind. I think we are making sure that member is in the center of everything we do. And it's important that how we get there is, no, it's right, it's fair, it is done through the right bodies and the right set of approvals.
Rekha, AI industry trends in fintech are rapidly evolving. What are the most significant AI trends that you're seeing in the fintech industry right now? And how is Chime positioning itself to stay ahead of these trends?
Absolutely. I would say the very most common trends that I am seeing, and I'll talk through some of like where I think the industry can go based on like my own assessment. I think very common in fintech and especially also at Chime is like things around like fraud and risk. Fraud detection is a huge one. AML, like anti-money laundering, is another big one that we are seeing. Personalization, chat bots and voice bots, which is like customer service, which is probably the most easy and relatable use cases for many companies. Predictive analytics is another one because you can now predict a lot more because you have access to so much data that AI can just build those predictive modeling for you. Credit risk is another area, right? Credit risk as assessment is another area. Scam prevention, right? Hey, the data is really precious, right? Like we see like a lot of hacking happening. Like no, every day I'm pretty sure like no, we keep hearing this like no, hey, there is hacking happening and data is kind of leaks happening, right? Your probably data is on the dark web, etc., right? Like so how are we kind of like focusing on like scam prevention, digital banking services, right? These are definitely the trends that I'm seeing with a lot more. I'm very keen on other trends like multimodal in the industry, which is going to be pretty interesting how it plays out in fintech. Multimodal really means like, imagine like how do you process audio and video and everything, right? So I have not seen a good use case so far in the fintech, but that's a trend that's emerging definitely when you talk about AI. So that's something I'm curious about. Another one I would also say is cybersecurity. I think that's a huge thing for even us here at Chime, but cybersecurity, I think there are a lot of companies and vendors in the market now who are just going very deep into cybersecurity using AI. So yeah, I think those are like top of mind, Dr. Ali, for me, that I have observed. A lot of these we are already applying, but yeah, things like blockchain, multimodal will be interesting to see how they evolve or shape the future.
And how is Chime positioning itself to stay ahead of these? Because all of these are happening. And what
No, it is. I'll tell you, it's definitely a constant learning for us. We have, as I mentioned, we have a tiger team here at Chime. So no, some of us are constantly like, no, we do participate in a lot of industry conferences. We do meet with the experts in the industry. We also spend time learning from no, our peers in the industry, right? So a lot of time when you think about it, when we say we think of competition, but I say that it's more than competition. Like, how do you learn from others, right? So we do come in like, into sessions where we are learning like, okay, hey, how did you apply in a similar use case at your company, right? So there is a lot of that at the moment going on, which to me is healthy because it's not like you're trying to copy, because even if you copy, it's not going to work with generative AI. How you apply, how you see value is going to definitely differ, right? So I think the Tiger team here has been spending a lot of that time. There are like one or two key folks in the team who are constantly like spending time with like no research panelists, right? Like the different companies to really understand the insights in the market.
Mhm.
Even getting hands-on is another good way, I would say. Like, we just try to get an enterprise license and we say, okay, let's try this, right? So we tried in like one or two no small cohorts, and we say, okay, is this something that could make sense? We have also been running a lot of proof of concepts at the moment, no, in partnership with a lot of no small startups and everything in the market. So yeah, that's kind of where I would say how we are like
Mhm.
constantly trying to stay ahead of the trends and see, if that could add value and can make an impact for our members.
Mhm.
But I
Great.
can tell you that there is a lot out there. There is so much out there, and you have to like someone has to constantly stay on it. Like, it's not even week, but day by day. Like,
Great.
every day we are seeing something coming up.
Right. So enhancing consumer products is a key focus area. How is Chime utilizing Gen AI to improve consumer products and member experiences?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think I touched a little bit on this earlier. No, good examples that I was alluding to earlier were around like chatbots and personalization, the voice bots, etc. Right. So I think the question that I would start asking is like, where exactly in the consumer journey you want to apply, right?
Mhm.
Do you want to apply it every single step of it? Does it make sense? I think that's the first question to really ask, and that's how like no, we really are looking into it. But then as we find opportunities, like customer service as an example, I was telling you is a good area, right? No, and we are really using that extensively because we believe that applying AI in a space like customer service when the customers have problems is a faster way to resolve their issues, less effort on their end, right? And also driving trust, because at the end of the day, if you're not able to resolve their problem, then they're not going to come back to us. So it's very important for us to take care of our and their experience with us. So the experience is not necessarily about how we use the app. It's not necessarily about creating an account, but it's also about when you really have a problem, are we able to take care of you? Right. So they don't know, like, when the customers are really talking, they don't know, hey, am I using Gen AI or am I using a traditional, right? They don't know. And they
Mhm.
don't need to know, right? So it's up to us. The onus is on us to ensure that no, as we are thinking through this technology, as we are applying, as we are experimenting, right? How well are we taking care of it, right? So chatbots, voice bots, personalization, as I mentioned, is another key area we are looking at. The other good example, if I were to think about in the fintech industry in generally, is like insights, right? Like, we all have transactions, we spend money, right? Like, imagine like you have an assistant that can come and tell you like how well you have spent it, where are you spending your money, like what does your next 30 days look like. Hey, we believe that. So those are some of the areas we are exploring to say like, no, how do you help manage financials, right? Like, how do you showcase insights, right? How do you personalize the offerings to your customers, right? So there are a lot of tons of use cases. There are definitely some where we have already launched, we have seen positive outcomes, and the outcomes is like no better member experiences, the cost to serve, like we have seen some good cost savings, we have seen operational efficiencies, whereas there are use cases that we are evaluating mid-flight, right, which could directly impact our members and help them plan their day-to-day financials well.
Mhm. Now, a follow-up question, Rika, on this is you mentioned operational efficiency is crucial for any growing company. Now, how Gen AI is optimizing operations within Chime? Can you give us one specific example?
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, let's take the use case of like, since we talked a lot on some of the customer surveys and human in the loop, I would love to kind of go a little deeper into that.
Mhm.
Imagine like, no, when you are calling us, right, like the time that you spend with the human to get your query resolved, right? Let's say you deposited a check and your check did not go through on like, and you thought like, okay, as soon as I deposit, I see the money in my account, right? And but it takes probably 24 hours, 48 hours for the right regulatory because it has to be validated, verified, and all of that. And you are calling us, right, to figure out, hey, when can I expect the money, right? So for us to ensure that no, we are talking to the right customer, no, we have the right information, right? Behind the scene, no, if you think about an agent who is, or the human customer service agent who is talking to the member, they have to use like probably X number of tools, right? So they're hopping, like going find like who is the customer. Okay, they are verifying the identity, right? They are making sure there is no fraud here. They are making sure that they check the, okay, who did deposit the check? When was the check deposit? So if you really see, the sequence of events is pretty high. So they
Mhm.
are hopping from system A to tool B to system C, right? So there is a lot of hopping and steps that are happening here. So we are investing in areas where we are saying, okay, we know like why customers are calling us here. How about we summarize, right? Because the notes for them, like, no, we are looking at it, like, can we bring all this information at one place and summarize it for the agent, knowing that, no, when they are calling it, because we are also investing in voice technology using AI, right? So we are saying, okay, can we correlate that to say, okay, who is the customer calling in? Why is he calling in? So the agent is not hopping in. That way, agent is not spending like say 20 minutes on a call, rather it's a 1 minute call, right? Like that's an ideal aspiration, right? That's
Mhm.
what we want to get to, because probably they are spending 20 to 30 minutes on a call, and the member is also spending 30 minutes, right? Hey, 30 minutes is a lot of time, right? Maybe I'm a working mom and I have to go pick my child, and but I'm spending 30 minutes to really figure out when am I getting my paycheck. And then there is an agent who is also hopping through 30 minutes to different things, right? So if you really see the impact that something like AI could bring in is magical, because, right? But again, from an operation standpoint, it's a huge deal because we are trying to improve the productivity of
Mhm.
the agent. We are trying to improve the efficiency of our operations, right? We are also trying to evaluate at the same time, like, can we do some of this through chat, right? Like, if some of these can be contained within the world of chats, the member doesn't even have to talk to a human, right? So we are also finding those opportunities where you can actually shift from human to an automated systems, right? So
Mhm.
that's really a good example, no, if you all were to think in your day-to-day life, when you're reaching out and when seeking help, what's really is going behind the scene, right? We all get frustrated when we talk to like customer service, like, why is this guy taking like 30 minutes to really solve for this one simple problem?
Mhm.
It is difficult. It's a lot of process and tools, like, because I personally have spent time with these agents, like, I go sit in some of these call centers. I've spent time with these agents. I have listened to these calls, right? So the customer frustration is real,
Mhm.
right? And the agent is putting a lot of effort, right? So the problem is real for both of them, right? So how do you really eye for solving for both of these personas is a key for us.
Mhm. Very good. I know that data privacy and security is very important to Chime, and Chime places very strong emphasis on ethical AI practices. Um, can you share with us what steps Chime is taking to ensure responsible and ethical use of Gen AI?
Absolutely, absolutely, Dr. Ali. Um, I think Um, as mentioned earlier, the Tiger team is there. So I think we all start with the Tiger team here at Chime. This team has been constantly, no, we have council reviews, we have no periodic our executive reviews that are happening, where we kind of go and present it. But then we also have separate security, our internal compliance team. We work with legal and attorneys, and basically we come together in periodically. There are processes in place which actually tells us like, how to use the data, what data can be used, what is PII, what is not PII. There is a predefined guidelines that obviously is defined by our security teams because they're already on top of it, right? Even before GenAI even came in, hey, security is on top of everything. So there is guideline, but with bringing in like, what can you use, what you cannot, because there are so many models, right? Like if you think about it, you have Claude, you have OpenAI, you have uh, Anthropic, you have Hugging Face, right? There's Mistral AI, and there are a lot of laws coming in. Now, if you think about it, obviously we serve customers in the US, but if you think about like fintechs which are serving outside of US, like you have laws in place, right? You have regulatory bodies, you have like statewide policies, right? So you have to make sure that you're working with our councils and attorneys and legals and internal compliance team, right? So there are like, I would say, a processes in place where we come together, we review these use cases. It goes through a heavy review and approval process. There are like lot of like, how do I put this? Like it's all pressure tested. It's all tested, right? We challenge each other and we ask, hey, are we making sure that we have all the right guardrails in place, right? Before even it's even implemented and going into the market. So I would definitely say that no, we have certain players, certain teams in place. Um, I would say, irrespective of generative AI, I think keeping the data secure, safe, ethical is very important. I think tomorrow, if we come up with something new, I would say it is going to just get stronger and stronger. Right? There is going to be a lot more scrutiny in place for right reasons. But I don't think it's going to go away anywhere.
Right. Very good. Well, let's see if there are questions from the audience that we can discuss. There is one that um, wants to know about regulation surrounding AI and the challenges that are facing many fintech companies in this area. What is Chime doing when it comes to regulation and AI?
I think it pretty much goes back to what I was chatting a little bit earlier with Dr. Ali. So no, we have the teams here at Chime who are constantly day in day out working with regulatory bodies. Now we are keeping them informed as to like know how what are the things we are doing, why we are doing, how does it impacts our business members. So yeah, there is definitely a team in place. There are processes in place, right? There is no shortcut, I would say. We have to go through that and funnel through that process for the right reasons. And I would say as the policies are changing, as new models are coming into the market, there is a lot of emphasis to even say, okay, hey, should everything be solved through AI? I think that's a question we keep asking ourselves, right? Because yeah, I mean, AI can do magic and all of that, but does everything needs to go AI? Are there impactful areas where we should use AI, right? Versus the rest could be probably a traditional way of operating. But yes, Chime is definitely on top of it. Like we have a lot of like different players within the company with whom we partner and like they are part of our Tiger team who are constantly like working with us, guiding us, telling us the best practices, what to do, what not to do, and making sure like no we are going through the right security procedures and testing that happens and yeah, I mean, I think that's where I would put it, Dr. Ali, like pretty similar to what your question had earlier.
Yeah, very good. Another question is on how do you, how does Chime is building an AI ready culture, um, specifically regarding upskilling and reskilling the workforce?
Absolutely. That's a very great question, and I'm glad no somebody is asking it. I would say there are two ways I encourage my team. I can definitely tell you how I upskill my team, and that could definitely speak about how at Chime. Obviously, the easy answer, and I'll tell you the difficult answer also. The easy answer to this is obviously we have like a lot of training in place. There are conferences that people are going in, right, and it also comes with a lot of hands-on practice. right? We all can have a lot of theoretical lessons, but unless you really apply, right, you will not really understand like what this is this technology really going or entailing to, right? So yes, I mean, when from a Chime standpoint, we do have no at every employee level, there are like training allowances, there are like conferences allowances that every employee can entitle to and practice. I, as a manager for my team, I really encourage them. Like I'm on the product side, right? So we don't code. That's the traditional notion, right? And with us, with AI coming in, I'm saying even the function like product management is changing, because to me there are like a lot of tools out there that are probably low code or no code, right? So it really changes the myth of saying that, hey, PMs don't code. Now I'm saying, I'm telling my team like, it is not that you really need to code, but learn how to use this tool, right? And they become your co-pilot for you, right? A lot of these tools become your co-pilot. There is so much available, team, right? Like I can tell you, there is so many courses available. There are so many free courses. Like even companies like OpenAI, Claude, they have so many resources out there. Like it's a lot to really catch up, right? Like, and it also depends on a self-interest, like how much do you want to upskill yourself? Like I've had people who have told me, I just want to stay where like, no, I know the concepts. Whereas I've seen people who have said like, okay, I want to be more hands-on, right? So there's no one size that fits all. But as a company, we are encouraging everyone to kind of like use our enterprise licenses like ChatGPT, play around it, ask questions, see how that responds to you, find opportunities in your day to day, right? And that's another good way, I would say, that I tell my team every day. Like I, as a mom of a middle schooler, I always like, I can't sit and read 300-page book every day, right? So maybe I'm doing something, right? Like that could save me time every day, like from my personal life, right? So there are different ways how you can really upskill yourself. But I think the point here is like, it needs time from each one of you. Right now, I encourage every member of my team to spend the time, right, to upskill. It's not going to come naturally. Like, no, say if you're working on a project and that project has AI, you won't just learn AI like that unless you really play around it, unless you spend the time to kind of boost yourself, right? And I also find like a group that actually is doing it. So like, peer groups where you can come together maybe like on a weekend, and no, we jam, we build hackathons, right? We do products and we launch ideas, right? So there are various ways that you can actually go behind, and we do like hackathons and other things here, which is very exciting time, like no, where like people at all levels, different functions, we all come together, and no, we are like using technologies like Gen AI to kind of solve for some real problems. And some of these have become real, no, they are like, basically we have taken them to market. So it's not just a hackathon, but we really make it live, right? Make it in production, make it visible to our customers, know if you're seeing the value and impact. But I hope that gives you a flavor of how we are doing some of it.
Very good. Let's see, we have room for a few more questions. Uh, Chime operates in a customer-centric industry where trust is paramount. How is Chime using Gen AI to build trust with its members? And how do you maintain that trust?
That's a very thought-provoking question. I would say trust is the center of anything and everything we do, right? Like the reason why a member would come to us is because they trust us. We want to be that trusted brand, right? And how we do it, as I was mentioning in one of the examples earlier, like whether I'm using Gen AI or not, trust has to be there, right? Otherwise, like it really questions a lot of things, right? Out of the principles. Um, but Gen AI very specifically coming in, I think the way we look into trust is obviously we are making sure that no, the customer data is taken care, like no, the experience is seamless for them. We are not giving them like false no promises, right? There are like clear explanations when they are coming and asking us like, okay, hey, what is this product? Like, no, does this product impacts everything? Have you changed anything on the product, right? So how do you educate them? Like, I think the educating them is a very big part of some of these technologies. And how we do that is like, if you go to our website, you can actually see a lot of help pages, FAQs. So we constantly keep that updated, right? So that our customers knows what changes we are making, why we are making. Our marketing puts a lot of efforts in kind of like sharing when new products are coming in, like how are we really putting a lot of the factor of trust and less risk, right? And safety for them, right? So it's not like it's tied with one person. I would say every person in the company is responsible for that. And it's in everybody's hand to ensure that whether you are an engineer or you're a product, you're a marketer, like, right, you keep trust at the top of everything when you are looking into those problems, right? So I would definitely say there are ways, like as I said, like financial education is a big part of it. And I know we have teams who are basically taking those efforts through campaigns, promotions, obviously. On the app we are doing it, obviously when our customers are calling in, we educate them also over the phone, like if they have questions about products, etc.
Great, very good. Now, in the remaining time, let's wrap up with one last question. And this is because some of our audience, they're entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs. They want to start up a company. Uh, what advice would you give to fintech startups or considering deeper integration of Gen AI into their operations? If they want to start, if they have already started, and now they are facing with this Gen AI opportunities, uh, what advice do you give them?
I would say, if I were you, two things I'll keep in mind. One, obviously, I would say, open to fail mindset and taking risk, because hey, Gen AI comes with a lot of risk as well, right? It's not as simple as you put things and would love it. Because it needs you to influence and rally the people who are in your ecosystem to get bought into what you're building, right? So I would say, like, no, be open to, like, no, the failure mindset, be open to taking risk, because that'll teach you a lot early, because more feedback better. So I would say that, no, as you are trying to start something or probably have seeded into it, no, spend the time, like, no, find some early customers, have them try out your product, right? Like, open to like very critical feedback early in the low, because that'll actually help shape whatever you are building. Right. The second and foremost thing I would say is, like, consider, like, no, make sure you're bringing in the aspect of no ethical AI into play, right? You don't want to kind of bypass these things, especially if you're trying to start something in fintech, right? Because it's going to take you a long way. It could be a make or break deal at the end of the day. So how do you bring in like responsible, ethical AI practices, data practices into play? Because a lot of times, like, what happens is, and at least uh, I've read it and I've seen like some of my friends who are running, like starting some things, right? Like, we think, okay, let's just focus on the problem, value prop, technology in the beginning, right? And then a lot of this can come later. No, 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 no. Like, you have to make sure these are addressed in the beginning as early as possible. So I think spend the time early a lot into a lot of these. And I think the latter will be like more fruitful. That's how I think through it.
Mhm. Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we're at the end of our hour for this chat. I appreciate this opportunity to have you here with us. And again, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with our audience. I want at this point also want to thank again Kiara for making this possible. And I also want to thank all the attendees for joining us and their interest in this subject. And finally, but most importantly, I want to thank Camry Hall, our project coordinator at the FinTech Center, and all the support team that we have for making this a possibility for us and making it happen. Thank you so much. Look forward to future collaboration with you, and be well.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. Thank you, everyone, and best wishes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.